Self-Destruct sequence activated.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Self-Destruct Sequence podcast. This is episode 60 today, and it is Saturday, January 6th. Glad you're with us. And we don't have a whole lot of news this week. Unfortunately, with this being the holidays and all, there hasn't been a whole lot going on. We do have a couple things to note in the community news. Descent Rangers, of course, have posted their 2018 game nights. They just did the Gloves Are Off today, and they'll be doing the Mega Man event, which is basically going to be Pink Mist with only Mega Missiles. That will be next 2 weeks from today, rather, at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's 12 noon Pacific. So check that out over on DescentRangers.com. A little bit of news with Descent Retro. We're going to be coming out with a version that will be able to allow observers to see shields. And it's kind of like a proof of concept to get the whole thing in, which is the shield's energy, missile counts, what weapon you're using, stuff like that. And we want to get all that in there for 1.4, along with the Capture the Flag Classic that hasn't been started yet. We're focusing pretty heavily on observer mode right now. We're going to try to find a way to secure the transmission of the shields, because right now it goes through the host. But it's stuff that we're going to be discussing solutions possibly with the retro tracker. So a lot of things still have to be lined up for that, but we're going to try to get this out. I was hoping to have it out today for the observatory. Didn't quite happen, but hopefully we'll have that soon. And a bit of sad news to announce. William Wallace, a.k.a. Glock 17, really... That's an old school name to me. He unfortunately recently passed away late last year, so condolences to him and his family. So aside from that, don't have a whole lot to go off of. We did have an observatory today. It was pretty interesting. Jedi Luke, of course, dominating the field as usual, but maybe even more so this week with all single-digit scores in each of his games. Including some games against Sirius and Melvin that were surprisingly one-sided. And we saw a new map on the observatory, La Place, which was kind of interesting. Nice little 3D-ish map, and Melvin ended up taking a strong win in there, which was good to see. And we had one overtime game today. It was infused between Lee and Code. Lee taking that one 22-20, so pretty fun. Whole bunch of neat matches in there. So aside from that, we have a lot of things to talk about on the DCL. Well, maybe not as many as usual. Again, holiday season, 75 matches played in the last 3 weeks. No promotion challenges that I'm aware of anyway have been happening, but we still have had a lot of matches. Lito showing up playing 6 games this week, going 1-4 against Bronze with a close win over Can I Play Dad in Right 2 Men, 20-16. Speaking of Can I Play Dad, he is here as well. He is still remaining the top Bronze. He played 13 games in the last week, going 4-1 against Bronze, getting 2 of those wins back against, 3 of those wins back against Lato 2, rather. 2 close games, an overtime win, 21-19 in Audacity, and 20-17 in Audacity as well. And a domination, 20-8 in Mythena, which is basically Athena shrunk down. So, pretty cool stuff. And he's got a threatening score against Code, 20-16 loss in Audacity. But it was in Logic where he gets the big one. This is a dark horse over Code, winning 20-13. With 7 suicides. A lot of suicides in that game, but still a very good game for Can I Play Dad. He is very strong in Logic, and it's good to see him back in the dark horse category. So we'll see what happens. We've had Rethink, Lady Silver, Morphod, all showing up playing 1 game apiece. Nothing to note in there. Morphod, the only one of the 3 with a win. And then Code playing the majority of the games last 3 weeks rather, 26 games, going only 1-9 against Silver. He had a close win over Lee, 20-17 in Fuse. Lee returned the favor. We'll get to that in a bit. But a lot of his games were against B2AF. And then he did have one threatening score. This was a curious 18-20 loss, but still against Vaniac, really good score over in Logic 2. So good job for Code for putting it in there. Lee playing 15 games over the past 3 weeks, 1-3 against Silver's only win coming against Code, 20-17 in Rip with 3 suicides. He did have 2 threatening scores, losing 20-15-0 in Untitled. That's interesting map to get that kind of score on 0. And then 16-20 against Vaniac in Antarctic. So Lee still tearing it up. We have Ernie playing last 3 weeks with a 3-0 record in 4 games against Silver. And one close game against Lee, which was a 20-15 win in Knockout. But his true knockouts come in his home level of Athena, and he played Athena X3. Not technically his home level, it's X2, I believe. But he did get a win there, a dominating win over Lee, 20-10, and a 20-4 thrashing, double domination over Rethink. So pretty powerful stuff there. So moving on, top Silver is going to be B2AF, playing 20 games over the past 3 weeks, undefeated against Silver, 8-0. 3 close games against Code, all of them 20-17 in Rip, Ascend, and Crimson, but also had a domination in there as well, 20-7 in Kronos as his big win of the week. The previous threatening score that he had, that was also an 18-20. This one was in Salute against Vaniac. So B2AF really pushing Silver down as far as he can. We did have one retirement from the last 3 weeks. Swarthy playing 5 games, actually not playing any Silvers at all, but he did have a threatening score again, an 18-20 against Vaniac. Vaniac not handing out those dark horses yet, but look out. Mythena was the level of choice there. And I don't know, I'm not sure, I want to double check, but I'm not sure if Swarthy retired at the top of Silver or not. I think he did. So there was that. But hopefully he'll come back around soon. He had a kind of a rough day on the observatory today, so he still flew very well. He has nothing to be ashamed of. So moving on to Gold. Sirius showing up playing 5 matches. Only one against a Diamond pilot, did not get to win there. Vaniac with 23 matches over the past 3 weeks, undefeated against Silver despite those close games, but he did go 3-4 against Gold with 2 close wins over 0, 20-15 in Mind Tricks and 20-17 in Ascend. All of his Gold games this week, by the way, were against 0. He did have a threatening score against Jedi Luke, but was about as unthreatening as a threatening score can get, 20-15 in Mind Tricks. 0 on the other end of that went 4-3 against Gold, all against Vaniac, but he did have some dominations, 2 against Lee, 1 in UG, 20-2. You know, you think 0 is pretty dominant in Fusion. We'll get him in Faded Rose. This is these are all Descent 3 games, by the way. 20-1 in Descent 3's Faded Rose. So 0 showing that he knows how to play D3 still after all these years. And the 4 wins against Vaniac, 3 of them were close games. The 20-16 win over Vaniac in Audacity, 20-17 against Vaniac in Ascend, and a 20-17 win over Vaniac in Mind Tricks. A threatening score as well against Jedi Luke, 20-17, also in Mind Tricks. And then we move on to Diamond. 0, by the way, is currently the top Gold, sitting at the number 3 spot. Jedi Luke played 9 games last week, going undefeated. 3 dominations out of those 9 games. Kind of a low count for him this week, but there's some good ones in here. 20-4, dominating win over Code and Rip. And how about the shutout, 20-0 over Swarthy and Kronos? And that was before the previous game was 20-11 between the two of them in the same level. So yeah, just Jedi Luke just turning it around and pretty much making it a very good game for him. And then against Gold, he had a dominating win over Sirius. That was 20-10, also in Kronos. And fortunately, Mark 39-2 not playing the last week. He will retain the top spot on the DCL. So as far as the DCL goes, the current season, the late 2017 season, obviously it's not 2017 anymore. We are awaiting a code change coming from Dracona before we start the 2018 season. So keep your eyes out on descentchampions.org for more information on that. And as far as game of the week goes, it's really hard for me to pin one of these down, just simply because there's been so many good and interesting games coming from mostly from the mid tier. But I think the one that really made me open my eyes was Code putting up 18 on Vaniac. So that's going to be awarded the game of the week over in Logic 2. It's just not something that happens all that often, especially when you see some of the other scores. Vaniac did have some big wins over Code as well, and for Code to just keep clawing back and improving as much as he has, I think that's a good indicator of how well he's been improving. So yeah, that's going to do it for the DCL this week. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. These last couple weeks have just been so holiday-ish. It's just like, yeah, we could have done an episode last week and it would have been even shorter than this. So yeah, so not a whole lot going on in the world of Descent right now. Of course, with the new year, that's going to be changing. We'll have Overload. They're still working and putting out regular releases. Descent Underground, not a whole lot going on with them because they stopped doing releases, but they are still working on their game. They still do their Friday streams over at twitch.tv/Descendant Studios. They're not doing their full show like they used to, but they basically every week they have a play session where anyone can come to the game. They usually have about 10 to 12 people show up, so they play the bigger games as well. So Descent Underground is even getting a little bit of action as well. So it's kind of cool. So that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys stopping by as always. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, or confessions, and especially with a concern that I might have done that out of order, please contact me over at runkly@runkly.com. We will at some point get to these. I do have one on the back burner that, like I said, wasn't so anonymous, despite them wanting to be anonymous. But we'll honor their anonymity. But we're going to do that at a later time. So definitely check that out. You can check us over on Twitter at SDS_activated and over on Facebook and here on Twitch at SDS Podcast. And aside from that, that's just going to about do it. Of course, if you need to get someone back in the game, go ahead, check over descentchampions.org/new_player.php. It's where you can get back into the game. You get all the information on how to get Rebirth and Retro. You can even download the game now. Go buy the game over on Good Old Games, GOG.com. D1 and D2 are back on sale over there, so go ahead and check that out. And that's going to do it, guys. So until next week, I'm Runkly. See you, bye.